breaking news just in. The Russian diplomat squatting at their cancelled embassy site has just departed the grounds after several days camping out there. His departure comes after the High Court this morning dismissed Russia's bid to try and maintain control of the site. Live to Trudy McIntosh, who was there. Trudy, can you describe what's happened?
So, Kenny, we saw the alleged Russian diplomat. He had done a bit of a walk around of the site in the last hour. He'd been checking the locks behind me at the what was proposed to be Russia's consulate here. He then went back to his demountable building and suddenly we saw a minivan arrive, reverse into where the media was standing, right up to the gates. The man came through the gates. He then locked the temporary gates behind him and quickly rushed into the car. He refused to take any questions. As that car sped off, we then saw this Toyota minivan behind me. It has been idling now for nearly 30 minutes. It's got diplomatic plates on it and there is a man inside. We have been attempting to speak to him. I'll go and see if he's willing to speak to us on air right now. He hasn't been willing so far to actually identify himself. I'll just see if he wants to say anything to us. No, as you can see, he just remains on his phone. He's wearing a cap and glasses, refusing to say anything to the media about exactly why he's here, why they're idling the engine just a metre from another gate to the entry towards the consulate. At the High Court today, it was heard that this building took around 2 years to build and that it cost around $8 million Australian dollars. Over the time of this entire diplomatic dispute, we had only seen one man who had been living, it appeared, in that demountable. The question mark is why this car remains here outside of the gates if there isn't in fact anyone inside. We have not seen any proof that there is anyone here, but just a question as to exactly why he could possibly be here. Just earlier, last hour, the Prime Minister had declared that he expected Russia to comply with the High Court ruling. That ruling declared that the Commonwealth could take possession of this land. The Parliament enacted laws in a very swift way 12 days ago and it tore up Russia's lease over this proposed site. But we know that man had been squatting here and Russia was refusing to actually cede any ground. Now that he has left, we've yet to actually see the federal police officially take control, but there is a pretty big police presence here. 3 police cars on this side road and there was another police car that is right behind the embassy site. It's quite a big site here, a lot of it just empty grass, but still a question mark, Kenny, as to exactly how the Commonwealth is going to formally take control of this, whether this man here is just here essentially to keep watch over what happens, to report back to the embassy, potentially the Russian embassy, as to the further movements of the federal police and where to from here. But this has been a pretty big diplomatic standoff. The Prime Minister emphatic when he was standing in the courtyard that he expected Russia needed to comply with the High Court ruling.
Trudy, that alleged diplomat that you were talking about who's just left, he wasn't carrying much luggage. It was just a shopping bag and a backpack, and he was there for a number of days as well. So that's surprising. But can you see any other movement around the perimeter where you are at the moment? Has anyone else tried to gain access, whether it be AFP officers or anyone else?
No, Kenny, the federal police have been standing, as we'll show you now, on the other side of the road for the entire time that we've been here, watching on, taking notes. You can see quite the big media contingent still here as we await any further confirmation or movement from the man inside the minivan. It is worth remembering, as you say, it's been a pretty cold Canberra few days. He's from Russia. You'd expect he might be used to it. But as you say, there wasn't a lot of supplies, it seemed, inside that small demountable. How sustainable was it going to be to keep that man in that small site? This was the proposed second embassy site. There is in fact the main Russian embassy is opposite the Kingston Hotel in the suburb of Griffith. So this is always the proposed second location, but it's been in pretty incredible scenes in Australian politics to see this man now have to leave in the wake of this ruling by the High Court. It's worth remembering, Kenny, the process there. Russia is still trying to do a broader constitutional challenge to the validity of the law to strip the lease in total. We won't hear that yet. It's unclear exactly when that will be heard before the court. But today, an indefinite loss for Russia in the High Court, that they cannot simply remain on this land. They can't maintain the status quo, that they had to leave, and within just the space of an hour or so, they chose to do so.
Yeah, and the Prime Minister earlier saying they don't intend to have any other embassy there, not intended to allow any other country to build on that particular site. Trudy McIntosh, thanks for that. We'll catch up with you again, hopefully next hour.